This is a video on approximating square roots using multiple methods instead of just using a calculator. Calculators are great, but if you don't have access to one, you also need to be able to calculate it. First, you absolutely have to know perfect squares, which is just like your multiplication tables 1 through 12. What I've written here are the perfect squares that you need to know for your timetables 2 through 12. Square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16 is 4, and so on. Neither method I'm about to show you will work without this in place, so make sure that you understand this so that you can do the next part. Like I've said many times in math, you must use graph paper. It makes everything so much easier. So in this question, I've asked you, what is the square root of 43? The square root of 43 is a non-perfect square. First part of this is, what two perfect squares does the square root of 43 fall between? That is square root of 36 and the square root of 49. In part 2, you draw a number line connecting the 2 points. Make the left side the left-hand side of the square root perfect square that you're looking at, and make the right-hand end of it the larger of the numbers that the square root falls between. It can be a little longer than that, but in this example, I'm showing you just the two ends as written. Square root of 36 goes here, square root of 37, 38, 39, 40, and so on. In this next picture, I have redrawn the number line so that you can see it. What I want you to do is count the distance on the number line from 36 to 49, which is 13 spaces. Above the square root of 36, see how I wrote 6, and see how over here I wrote 7? That is showing you the perfect square and how everything matches up. The distance between the square root of 36 and the square root of 49 is 13 spaces. So after you know that, that's really important, find where the square root of 43 would be. To do that, literally count. This would be 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and there you go, 43. Put it there, and then count and see how far away it is from the left-hand side of the square root of 36. If you do that, you will see that you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. That's what this number represents. The 13 represents the distance between 36 and 49. The answer is 6 7/13. Isn't that pretty cool? Here's method number 2. In this one, you draw shapes, squares specifically. Again, step 1 is to remember your perfect squares: square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16, square root of 25, and so on. Again, absolutely use graph paper. If you don't, this won't work. Remember, the number line also works best with graph paper. We're going to find the square root of 43. Again, remember it falls between the square root of 36 and the square root of 49. First, draw a 36 space square, then draw one that is 49. The only thing that I did is I made sure that it's, first of all, a perfect square, so this end to this end was 6, and this end to this end was 6. If you have any shape other than a square, this will not work because they are perfect squares. So this red number represents that this square root of 36 is 6, because 6 times 6 is that. The outside square is what the square root of 49 would be. And if you did that, it would be 7 by 7. Well, you're not going to fill all of that up. So count how many little squares you colored. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's where this came from. The total number of outside squares in between the little square and the outside square is where the denominator came from. Using 2 different colors, especially with highlighters, will also help. If I had gone, let me show you this, but how I'm coloring it. That will also help you see the pattern if you need to. Choose whichever method that works best for you. You can always use a calculator to check your answer. I don't have a problem with that, but you may not always be able to use one. When you use a calculator, remember that your answer that you get will not match perfectly the answer that you come up with using the geometry method of using squares or the number line. That is because they are approximate. That's super important. So you're going to see a lot of that kind of symbol. There's one more thing that I want to let you know about. This is not on the test, but you still need to know it because you will be asked this in Math 1. And if you tell your Math 1 teacher, we never learned this in 7th grade, I'm going to personally come upstairs and fuss at you. That is, each perfect square has two answers, not just one. Remember how two negative integers multiplied together equals a positive? That's right. So the square root of 4 is 2 and negative 2. And the square root of 9 is 3 and negative 3, and so on. Watch this as many times as you need, and you'll be practicing this in class.